From Tally to Cali.
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by
Vitamin Energy.
The vitamins.
The energy.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! It's Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy. Coming up on today's show, a lead candidate, question mark, on the offensive side of things. We discuss, and we're taking a lot of questions on the Renegade Express mailbag as we're generating discussion sparked by Cummins. Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com. Promo code WARCHANT BOGO. WARCHANT BOGO. Buy one, get one free. No expiration date on that thing yet, but you never know, everybody. So take advantage of it while you can. Holidays here. I don't know, Corey. I just can't imagine what would be cooler. Listen, I didn't have a stocking growing up. Christmas not a big holiday around the Hajavandi household back in the day. Big fan of Christmas, though, despite all of that. I couldn't imagine having a stocking over the mantle of a nice crackling fire and reaching in there and picking out delightful bottles of Mood, Focus Plus, Workout Plus, Vitamin Energy, and all I have to do is shake this and take this, and I'm going to feel better. I'm going to feel smarter. I'm going to feel happier. That's all I have to do. What else would a boy, girl, man, woman want?
Yeah, I don't know what else you'd put in somebody's stocking other than Vitamin Energy. The more you think about it, right?
No. Amen,
maybe
bro.
a gift card to Corner Pocket, but definitely Vitamin Energy all up in that thing.
There we go. VitaminEnergy.com, promo code WARCHANT BOGO. Buy one, get one free. No promo code needed over at warchant.com for that awesome $1.50, or the $1.50 deal we're calling it rather. $1 1 week, and then 50% off an annual membership. Or, as Corey liked to point it out, buy 6 months, get 6 months for free.
There you go. Yep.
Fantastic. How are you, Corey? Happy Friday to you, friend.
Hey, thanks, buddy. I'm back in Tallahassee getting ready for the big game this weekend. I've been gone for like 10 days or so. But yeah, and while I was gone, Stephanie moved in.
Ooh.
We took that next step in our relationship after the marriage. Nice. She's actually moved into my house now, and it feels like a real home for the first time since Shanna moved out. It feels like a real home. It has furniture, a lot of furniture. It smells nice. The new carpeting, all the lights are working. It's just like a brand new world here. The garage door, it works again.
Nice.
It's all looking up.
A woman's touch. It's a real thing, huh?
Oh yeah. Oh, 100%. Well, especially when I'm the man. Like I think a lot of other, like you don't need a woman's touch at your house. It looks like it's a livable home. Yeah. Mine was basically like what a college. What a house would look like if just a college kid lived there.
What happened? Did Sharon just take care of everything growing up for you?
Not really. Just a little bit of laziness.
Yeah.
And it's not. I'm not good at it. Don't care that much about it. As long as I have a place to sit and watch TV and work and do my business in the bathroom, I come out.
Oh, geez. All right.
Going on the toilet, everyone, not other types of stuff. I've already said too much.
You have.
I've already said too much. But as long as I'm a simple man.
Okay. Well said. Not a simple man, the complex, the ever mysterious Gene.com Williams, dropping some big notes over on the warchant.com message board yesterday morning. Hopefully you're a subscriber. Hopefully you're able to dive in and read all the details on that. But the headline, top candidate emerges in FSU offensive coordinator search. We have a lot of questions about that in the mailbag, Corey. I don't know if we should get to those or if you had any thoughts on Gene's story and insight into the search.
No, let's just get to the questions.
Okay. All right, then. Let's go ahead and let's start with our guy, Island Chief. Island Chief, first off, says, respectfully, here it comes. I disagree with Corey.
Okay. Hey, I as long as there's no disrespect coming, I'm all about it. People can, rational, respectful people can disagree.
Yeah. I think a loss tomorrow against Charleston Southern would have to be an irreconcilable result. Shout out for getting that word done on the first pronunciation. I was a little bit nervous about that. I know what it means, but, a lot of syllables. That performance that would have to be displayed is unimaginable. It really is. If it happens, I just don't know what he would be asked at the presser. Yeah, I don't even want to think about it. I don't want to think about it. Anyhow, I have read the tea leaves, and I think it's Brennan Marion for offensive coordinator and Brad White for defensive coordinator. How would those rank as hires? I really like the go-go offense. It raises the value of running backs, which I like. Now, this is real quick, Corey. This is one thing I didn't particularly purposely go out to seek, but I think I saw that the top 10 total offenses maybe in the nation, and I think only UNLV was the only team that ran for more yards than they passed for. And part of me, just the cynic in me, and I don't know, he seems like a really young, bright dude. Like all the interviews that I've been able to watch, just like little snippets, just seems like a really energetic guy, has a really good feel for the game. But I just do wonder, I don't know, in Power 5 football, can you, and not that he's smash mouth, 3 yards in a cloud of dust, Woody Hayes offense, but I really wonder how much can you really truly rely on running the rock. But maybe 2022 offense for Florida State was a bit of a blueprint, but I digress. Brennan Marion, Brad White, how are those ranks higher for you?
Yeah, look, if those were the two that came, I think you'd be really happy with both on both sides of the ball. Marion is a guy that, he's not as young as we think. Like, when was Norvell at Tulsa? You know what I mean? Like, right. It wasn't – it was probably, 2010?
He's 37. He's 37.
That's what I'm saying. He's not 28, though. I mean, he's pushing 40.
He's not my boy Ben Arbuckle. Ben Arbuckle's 29, I think.
Right, yeah. So, he's pushing 40, so he's been around a while. And I just think that, and I would say this because I was just looking up UNLV. Last year they threw for 3,300 yards and ran for 2,600 yards.
Okay.
So
balance.
That's more, but it's also they threw for more. I think, they lost their quarterback or the quarterback quit the team. That would be fun to ask them about, that situation, because the NIL stuff. And then they went to a guy that I think is obviously, as we've seen him and I've talked about, the quarterback at UNLV now is a really gifted runner, and they use him in the running game a lot. I do think he can do both. I just can't imagine a guy that averaged 32 yards a catch and caught 1,200 yards is going to be a guy that doesn't utilize receivers and big plays down the field. But yeah, I think if it's him, what would align with Norvell is he does like to run the ball, and unlike this year's team, I think he would be pretty adamant that I want a quarterback that's part of the run game. Because I just couldn't imagine he'd be like, yeah, I want DJU to run my offense. So all that being said, I think that Marion will be a fine hire. I think he's proven it. Last year I don't know what they averaged last year. I was just here. Let's see, total offense they averaged 400 and where is it? Yeah, they averaged like 430 yards per game, scored 35 points per game, which was top 20, 25 in the country. This year they're averaging like 41 points per game. And you know what should be appealing about him is Barry Odom's the coach there, right? Isn't that
Correct.
right?
Yep.
Yeah, Barry Odom's a defensive guy. So it's not like it's Brennan Marion, I think anyway. I think Barry Odom was like a DC.
He was, yeah. He is.
Yeah, so I'm sure he gives a lot of autonomy to Brennan Marion. It's not like he's just the product of a really good offensive coach, like like whoever Ohio State's offensive coordinator is, which I know who he is. It's Chip Kelly. But before that, it's Ryan Day's offense, right?
Yes.
Right, or at least he has some.
Ryan Day is also a pupil of Chip Kelly.
Yeah,
so
that's true. It's all cyclical. That was a bad example, but you guys get the example. In offense, like Alex Atkins this year. Offensive coordinator name only, but it's Mike Norvell's offense. No, this is his offense. This is an offense that he helped create. He's installed it at a couple of different places now. None as big as Florida State, but UNLV. What I like is they were not very good at all on offense before he got there. They took a big jump in year one in 2023, and they've even taken a bigger jump in year two with a different quarterback. He lost his quarterback, and he still took a bigger jump.
Yeah.
And it's not like UNLV is loaded with talent where they're just overwhelming teams with talent in that conference. So I think he's scheming up some really good stuff. I would love the defensive coordinator hire too. Again, none of them are guarantees. None of them are slam dunks. But I like the resume of a potential hire like that on the offense, and I absolutely love the resume of a potential hire like that on defense. A guy that's been in the SEC, man, sign me up, especially a place that's done well on defense.
Well, and been under a guy like Mark Stoops. It's one thing
Correct.
if you were, if you were the defensive coordinator for an offensive-minded kind of system or what have you. But yeah, they've had good success, and obviously it's relative to what Kentucky has been. But yeah, I like the sound and the fit of that. Also, some food for thought here. UNLV currently ranks 20th in the nation in points scored in the second half, 16.4. They averaged 16.5 points per game in the second half last year as well. So if you're one of those halftime adjustments guy, or maybe that's just a completely freak statistic, just figure that'd be something you might want to chew on. Let's shoehorn this in, although, again, a lot of the questions that we're going to go over relate to the searches here on the coordinators. Our guy Knoxnell04. By the way, we got a lot of first-timers on the mailbag, which is really cool to see this late in the game. I figured most people would be tuning this thing out. But
here's a stat I wanted to throw at you, Aslan, real quick.
Sure.
So just looking at their stats from last year, UNLV, they had a receiver named Ricky White who caught 88 passes for 1,483 yards and 8 touchdowns. So he averaged 105 yards per game. Only averaged 17 yards per catch, so nothing like his coach. But 88 for 1,483. The next guy had 60 catches for 606, so a possession guy for 2 touchdowns. Then you drop all the way down to like 23 and 18, meaning kind of feels like an Alabama-type offense, right? Where, okay, I got 2 really good receivers or 3 really good receivers. Sorry, everybody else, work amongst yourselves. I got 2 bad asses out wide that I want to get the ball to a lot. And I'm not saying Jacob DeJesus is a great player. He averaged 10 yards a catch. But it's nice to have a possession. It's 2 guys that had 148 catches. Just 2. One guy that had 88. That's somebody scheming up stuff for their best player. Get your best players the ball a lot. They played 14 games. That guy had 88 catches. That's 6 a game, 6.5 a game. This team hasn't had a guy catch 6 passes in a season, almost. Certainly not in a game. Not that they have anybody that would deserve it. But you know what I mean? Like that's a pretty interesting stat, too, I think, that he finds the guys that are the best and gets them the ball a lot. Smart thing to do.
Yeah, like, other than a national title, you know what I want? I want that. I want a guy on the team that catches 70 passes for 1,300, 1,400 yards.
All right.
I don't know. That's put that on my Christmas wish list behind some vitamin energy and a Cummins portable generator. Our guy Knoxnell posted 6 questions, Corey.
Ricky White, by the way, having another big year this year.
Okay, yeah, he's still
63 for 867 and 10 touchdowns. Yeah. So in 2 years, my man has caught 151 passes.
I like it.
Yep,
like it
and 2,300 yards. And I bet you, the teams that play UNLV know they probably need to stop Ricky White. And yet my man still has 63 for 867 this year. Also, I think he's out of eligibility, everyone, so don't get too excited.
Man, but you look at that schedule, they're kind of like they're the Indiana almost of the West Coast. But we'll save that for another day. We're going to keep it positive.
But again, it's not like they have a ton of talent where they're just overwhelming people, right? Like, I assume it's equitable on both sides of the ball for most of their games.
Yeah.
And yet they're still putting up points and yards against teams of equal talent. So you assume, again, no idea if he's coming. Legitimately no idea.
True.
If he can do that well against equal talent at UNLV, even if Florida State can't overwhelm people with talent next year, they could get to relative equitable equality with the teams they're playing against. And if that's the case, maybe they have a decided schematic advantage.
All right, so Knoxnell04, 6 questions.
Are we going to let him ask 6 questions?
No, we're not. We're just going to. Okay. No offense.
But I love you. We love you, dog.
We do.
You know that.
He just wanted to also let us know, by the way, that the reason he posted all these is because he listens to us during his split shift. So I guess he works kind of a later shift. Shout out. Yeah, man, 3 in the morning out there working, keeping our economy going. Love it. My portfolio appreciates it. Thank you very much. So he's got one that's a little bit more generated and focused, I guess, on, is that a hint, everybody? Fire up the, no, not yet. Do you believe or already know that there has been or will be at least an agreement by a coordinator by next weekend? That obviously won't be announced until said coach's season is over. If so, how much will it take to get it leaked? So he said, last thing I want to mention before about the lateness of the posting, I work a swing shift. So when I'm on nights, this is how I pass my free time. So,
okay.
Yeah, again, to Corey's point, this is nothing about like an imminent hire or this is the hire. Just simply seems to be some momentum or cohesion around a certain particular name, and it makes sense and it lines up with who your head coach is. Sunday, right? You feel like the Sunday after the Gator game, something would leak, and then maybe like an official announcement press conference happens Monday or Tuesday. Although I don't know, man, they're going to be so busy trying to listen. They're not. We can all say that this class is going to be a bust. This recruiting class, high school wise, it's going to be a bust. But they are throwing out offers left and right, so they're going to be hosting kids and trying to get 17 to 18-year-old kids to come here. So I wonder how that's going to affect into the calendar. But yeah, I guess. How do these typically work? Or it's like, somebody in the national media tweets at Pete Thamel or Schleybaugh or Chris Lowe, and then we're able to kind of confirm it an hour or so afterwards, and then within 24 hours, it seems the university makes some sort of either official announcement or they call for a press conference.
Yeah, I don't think that would happen with coordinators. I think that's broken at the local level more often than not, honestly. And so, yeah, that's why you need to be on – don't be going to Pete Thamel's website. Does he have one, or his Twitter feed? I think those are typically reserved more for head coaches than OC hires, or DC hires for that matter, wide receivers coach. But yeah, I would think whenever it's leaked or whenever it's about official, I don't know that many people will know first before we do. Not with Ira and Gene on the case. That'll be something we know very, very quickly after it happens, I would think. But also, I also don't think that. I think there will be an absolute steadfast not in writing, but an agreement to please don't announce it early. Let us at least get through the regular season. But I do think there will be an agreement in place. I would be stunned if there isn't for both of these coordinator positions. But absolutely by the end of next weekend, maybe by the end of this weekend. It's just when does it get publicly announced? That's all. By the way, the UNLV has a game tonight at San Jose State on FS1.
No pressure.
So if you want, hey, exactly right. So if you want to go watch and see what the go-go offense is about, you got Friday night, 10 p.m. I don't think San Jose State is very good.
No, they're fine. They're 6-4. They're 3-3.
Oh, okay, all right, good. It's a road game.
Yeah.
It's a Mountain West game. You know what, though? I think you kind of want UNLV to lose.
No.
If Brennan Marion is your guy, you need him to lose either this game or the next game, which is against Nevada. With no love lost, by the way, with those two programs, UNLV and UNR is what it says here on the schedule. I guess they're
Nevada.
Reno?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that was in. I guess I didn't know that was. I guess I did know it was in Reno. But anyway, if he loses one of these games, you don't have to probably wait on a conference championship game. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, I got you. Well, they're currently third in the Mountain West right now. Colorado State, believe it or not.
Oh, that's right.
They and Boise State are undefeated and atop the Mountain West.
But they didn't even play. Yeah, they didn't play Colorado State.
Yeah, well, not a lot of teams play each other in these conferences.
That's true.
Corey,
I would have thought the Mountain West.
lately.
I thought they were all. I thought they didn't. I figured they didn't have that many teams, but apparently they do. And they lost. UNLV lost to Boise State 29-24, and their other loss was to Syracuse 44-41.
In OT, I think, right?
Yep. And you like that the losing team there scored 41.
Yeah. By the way, San Jose State allows 437 yards of offense and nearly 29 points. So they're 117th in total defense, 96th in scoring defense. So world's your oyster, Brennan. Yep. We'll be watching.
Put up 33 at Oregon State too.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, that's a nice dub for them, I think.
Our guy, Naples, Mark M. Adams, CZ, wake up. Based on what you know and may have heard to date, what specific coordinator hires would make you say, ooh, Mike, nice work. Now we're in business. On the flip side, what specific hires would make you cringe and say, 2025 is going to be another rough ride? Creative idea for the wrap after we notch our second win on Saturday. Corey and Ira do an egg toss while talking highlights. First to drop, it loses. Have to take a step further away from each other after each catch. Go Noles.
Yeah.
There's nobody on here that – I'm not trying to I wasn't underwhelmed at all by the list that the first hot board that Gene dropped about a week ago now, it feels like. But there was nobody on there where you're like, oh, wow, like that's some real high cotton. You're going to be extracting a guy away from an absolute juggernaut that has a bulletproof resume. I mean, the only thing I guess maybe if you would have pulled or you end up pulling, I guess the only one I could really think about on this first list, Corey, would have been like the offensive coordinator from Indiana, just because he would be leaving a job where they just got re-upped and have a very much more sort of secure future. But it's Indiana, so like obviously you would leave to come to Florida State. I mean, everybody else, to me, it would make sense, but I can imagine like why you would leave a Power 2 program that's on really good footing, it seems like. That's the only one that would have been like, wow, you really kind of pulled a kind of rabbit out your hat. But again, that's Cignetti's offense. I don't know how much of Mike Shanahan that really truly is. But, yeah, just scrolling through the original hot board, there was nobody really that I thought, ooh, boy. I don't know, Brian Hartline might have been something crazy, but he's never called an offense. He's just an ace recruiter,
right. And also I don't know there's anybody there that would get you, oh, my God, if they could get him,
exactly.
The world is our oyster. And I don't think there's anyone there that's like, oh, no, that would be a disaster. We don't know, man. We don't know. Like Mike Norvell, he's been both. Like when he was hired in 2019, I don't know that anybody thought, okay, in 4 years they're going to go undefeated. They're going to be 13-0. They're going to have a 19-game winning streak. Oh, my God, he hit it out of the park. The next year, nobody would have ever thought he's 1-9. Like we just, and I know that those are extreme examples. They're reality, but they're extreme examples. You just don't know. You don't know what's a good fit. Again, the Longo guy has put up points and yards everywhere he's ever been. The Wisconsin folks must have thought they got an absolute home run. It didn't work out. There are countless defensive coordinators. Ellis Johnson, the guy that Jimbo wanted instead of Jeremy Pruitt. Like, and it worked out pretty well that he didn't get him. There are just countless examples of guys you thought would have done great. For whatever reason, it just didn't work and didn't fit. And then vice versa, guys that you were kind of underwhelmed by. Like, yeah, I don't know, man. That's not much of a resume. And they end up being really good. So I hate to skirt the question mark, but I really, there aren't. Like, I think the Marion guy would be a really good hire. I think the dude at Kentucky would be a very good defensive hire. 2 years from now, I might be calling for both their jobs, if they even come here. Like, there's just no way to know, and I don't want to it's not that I'm scared. I'm clearly not scared to voice opinions. I just there's too many factors that go into play for a really good coordinator hire. To know for certain that it's going to work. Might run a great offense, can't ever get a quarterback. Which is kind of what's going on here for the last 5 years. Still waiting on him to secure in writing from a high school kid just a drop-dead, knockout, undeniable great quarterback prospect. Kromenog might be the guy, but there's no proof through 5 years that this is a place where Norvell develops great quarterbacks. He had one, but it wasn't his guy. So anyway.
I think defensive coordinator-wise, I think if you pulled Zach Arnett away as an analyst, and again, I know it's an analyst job, but he's a guy that was a head coach, through weird circumstances, obviously at the SEC level, but he's a guy that's been proven to be a really good coordinator.
Buddy, we know you're on that train.
Yeah. Well, then
you're going to be doing cartwheels for that.
Your guy in Colorado, I think if you pulled away a Robert Livingston from Colorado, the guy's like NFL pedigree, because you would think that maybe he would want to go back to coaching on Sundays after what he's done. At Colorado. I mean,
you'd feel great about it.
Yeah,
right? Yeah, but again, and you for good reason. But that just because it worked at Colorado doesn't mean it's going to work at Florida State. Is what I'm saying. Like Kevin Steele, right?
This is a beauty contest right now. What we're talking about.
Yeah, but there's no. Yes, right now that would. I don't know if that's going to move the needle that much. Arnett, the guy you're talking about, I don't know, but you don't need the needle moved, man. You just need a really competent, good coach. My point was that, like, Kevin Steele was a horror show at Clemson. His last game was they gave up 70, right?
Yeah,
I think. And then I don't remember when or where, because he's been at every school in the country, but he was I think he was really good at Auburn.
He was. A few
years ago.
They won the SEC West, yeah.
And he was good a few years before he got to Clemson, because how else did he get to Clemson? Like, that's a guy that has proven he can be a really good defensive coordinator with the right scenario and the right circumstance, and a horrible one. So so much of it is just about the fit and getting players. Quite honestly, that's the most important thing we all know is getting players.
And if I don't know if you pulled Travaris Robinson away from Georgia, that feels like a coup because you've pulled him away from Georgia. But he's another guy he might be Kevin Steele 2.0 just in terms like he's been. I mean, he was at Florida. I think he's been at Bama. He's been at so he's been
around it.
Yeah, he's been around it to your point. But he's a guy that seems to be opportunistic and takes the best jobs.
But he's also never been in control of a defense.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's the risk. There's a risk with all these guys. You could say the same thing about our man at Kentucky. I know he's the DC. I'm sure he game plans and schemes a ton, but we also know that Mark Stoops is running the show, like running the entire show, and he absolutely has his handprints on that defense. Can this guy get away from Mark Stoops and still have those kind of defenses? These are things you don't know, man. Can the go-go offense work in a Power 4 conference? No clue. No clue. You got to hope it can. You got to think it can. There's no reason to think it wouldn't, but it's not a guarantee.
Moving along now, we go to Mimi Nole. What's up, Mimi? My mom had a friend that she used to work with. Her name was Mimi. Her name was Mimi Acquaviva, Corey. She was she still is a very vibrant Italian woman, very very lively. I miss Mimi.
That's what Brady calls my mom.
Yeah, Mimi's that's a grandma.
Yeah, Mimi. Yep.
Yeah, I like that. Good stuff. Anyhow, Mimi says, it seems that the common practice is to give extensions and raises to coaches. Whatever happened to incentives and bonuses? Now, as I'm to do on this program, Corey, I sometimes see these questions. I like them, and I'm like, but I'm gonna maybe mold it. I was thinking of something else in my head. So with that said, I'm gonna go ahead and tell us to fire up our cameras. And then obviously, Corey, if you could fire up the generator for all of us, please. That's right, everybody. We're generating discussion. It's sparked by Cummins Lifestyle. One word, follow on Instagram. Next week, your last opportunity to submit a question into the Renegade Express mailbag in generating discussion and get a shot at not only winning a monthly gift bag of swag from Cummins, but also the grand prize drawing, which is going to go down the first week of December, Corey. We'll be generating, or rather drawing, a grand prize winner. You will get to choose whether it's a Cummins portable generator or a Cummins portable power station. You got to be a member of warchant.com. I mean, if you need any more incentive, I don't know what to tell you. But come on home. Subscribe. The 150 deal going down. You can be part of all this. So, Corey, the reason I like this question from Mimi, it kind of made me think, when we're going to this whole transfer portal transient era now of college football, the whole thing used to be for coaches. Well, by the way, the question to Mimi is like there's both, right? There's incentives and bonuses, but it dwarfs the guaranteed annual salary that you're getting as a coach. Norvell got money for winning the ACC championship game and making it to a bowl, things like that. But in this day and age, we heard so much in the past, Corey, right? You know, you needed like a 3 or 4 year extension so you could go into a young man's living room with his family, like, I'll be there all 4 years that your kid's going to be at college. But in this day and age, when the portal and everything is so transient, and you can leave and everything is so year to year, will we see a move away from these? I don't want to say mega contracts. There's going to be mega dollars involved, but maybe we don't need to do an 8-year deal. Maybe we can get away with just doing like a 3-year extension or something along the lines of that. Is that perhaps on the horizon, or is that just hoping against all hope at this point?
No, I think I think business is going to start changing because of this. Number one, there's going to be $20 million a year they have to spend on I guess they don't have to, but we'll be spending on athletes for the revenue sharing.
Across all sports,
but we all know where most of it's going. But even still, it just doesn't make sense in this day and age, like you said. Like, I think, honestly, Florida State is a cautionary tale of why. Now, Indiana didn't take that caution, which is crazy, but because I don't know who they were bidding against. At least in Florida State's case, you could obviously make the argument they were bidding against Alabama or trying to keep him from Alabama. I don't know that anybody was knocking down Cignetti's door to that extent.
can you even anticipate a top 10 job that's going to open that you would need to do this for? Or like, are you scared as Indiana that even a top 20 job opens up, like North Carolina opens up and Signetti runs a UNC?
Yeah, no, I don't.
Bizarre.
I just, yeah, it was very bizarre. I don't know who they were bidding against necessarily. So that was, I would have thought the presidents and ADs might have taken a look at 1-9 Florida State and been like, let's give it another year or two. Signetti's not going anywhere. But also, I don't think you need to extend. Not like crazy extensions. It's crazy that Jimbo was his 10 years at A&M?
I think so.
Yeah. I mean, that's just stupid. It's just outrageous. There's no reason to do that. There's no point in it anymore. As Aslan said, it used to be when you went into somebody's home, you didn't want to go into a home with less than a 3-year or 4-year contract because it didn't guarantee you'd be there and that was just something the agent sold the, quite frankly, ignorant ADs and presidents that had to be done. Is look, you got to give my guy an extra 3 or 4 years so all these high school recruits know he's going to be there. Man, they're like high school recruits are breaking down contract terms. Come on, man, that's not happening. It was just an excuse in a way for them to make more money for their clients, which is their job. I hope and think honestly that presidents and ADs, because of the high turnover in this sport now, like incredibly high, even on the rosters, that they will veer away from these crazy extensions.
Yeah, so Jimbo's deal was originally 10 years and then 4 years into it. So he signed in 2017 and 2021.
So in 2021, he still had 6 years left on his deal.
They gave him 4 more. They gave him a 4-year extension to keep him in a 10-year window.
Again, who were they bidding against? What were they afraid of? It just doesn't. It
well,
doesn't
LSU, I guess.
Again, I guess. Yeah, LSU's gonna. It's finally gonna work out for Jimbo. Yeah, I just think that's. We'll see if the presidents and ADs ever understand this and like flip the leverage. But right now, Jimmy Sexton runs the sport, and they're afraid to death of Jimmy Sexton. I do think, though, as more money gets filtered down to the players, and you see the turnover in this sport and the wild fluctuations in this sport, that presidents and ADs will finally determine, okay, it makes no sense financially for us to give this guy 4 more years. None. It does nothing for our program. It's only a risk. There's no reward to it. There's just no reward to it. So I think raises will always be a thing. And you can earn raises. Yeah, the ungodly extensions to get to double-figure years is just preposterous, because go look around college football, Aslan. Legitimately, how many coaches at their current schools have been there for a decade? Are there any?
Kirk Ferentz.
Yeah. Is that it? One?
Yeah. Dabo, I guess.
Dabo. So we could probably end up naming 3 or 4 total out of 130. So it's just ridiculous. You shouldn't ever go above a 5-year, like max 5 years. Like if he's got 3 years left on his deal, you give him 2 more years. Yeah. Going up to 10 is just preposterously dumb. And I do think the landscape of college football will hopefully change this mindset with ADs and presidents.
I would like to see incentives and bonuses for the players, but they're going to get their guaranteed money now, which I can live with. I mean, because if $20 million spread out over all these players, all these different sports, I think is going to end up being a reasonable number to which I would be comfortable with. And then the whole thing is they're going to have to create some kind of deterrent where, like, all right, like, listen, anything above this, you're going to get a loss of 15 scholarships, or you're going to get like some real big, like you're going to be postseason banned. There's going to have to be some kind of real teeth and deterrent to not let people go above and beyond this moving forward. But that's about the players, not the coaches. The question came from our own Mimi Nole over the warchant.com message boards. You too can be part of generating discussion and have the opportunity to win a free, literally there's no strings attached. You're going to have a free Cummins portable generator or power station. It's up for grabs first week of December. Get involved, everybody. Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, 2475 Appalachia Parkway, home of the best wings in town, I say, in Tallahassee, Florida. Awesome billiards, pool. That's also billiards, Aslan, and darts. But also host site of a Friday meet and greet with Jeff Cameron and Corey Clark from 5 to 6 o'clock. Come on out, say hi, grab a bite to eat. Corey Wrap's available on a regular Friday, just game days limited menu. Correct, Corey?
That's correct.
So,
but yeah, it's there every day, but Saturday.
Okay.
And you can always ask for it on Saturday. Maybe you'll get a cook that's in a good mood. Yeah. But typically that's not really on the menu. That's like something special off the menu for Saturday, like animal style, in and out. Yeah. You order the Cory wrap on Saturday and see what happens.
Amen. Nothing more meta than having a Cory wrap while hanging out with Cory Clark.
I can't. The world would explode.
Yeah. Check it out. 2475 Appalachia Parkway. Come on out tonight and stick around for that meet and greet, and then watch maybe the next OC at Florida State against San Jose State. It'll be on any game you want. Bill and the crew got it figured out. They're like, we're going to have a sports bar. It probably is important for us to know how to work all of our televisions and coordinate all the games.
I want to reiterate again, I think the soccer team plays at 5:30 later today. Also, the basketball team plays Temple at 5 p.m. today. So if you're wanting to watch all that stuff at once, I think CP's the way to be. You got your soccer and your basketball going on at the same time, and then later in the day, he'll make sure to have UNLV up on the big screen somewhere.
Corner Pocket Barn Grill. Let's diversify our appetite here. It's Wake Up Warchant is presented by Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com. Random_John, enough talk of the suck. That's the football team. Let's talk about a winning team, the basketball team, the men's basketball team. These guys play extremely hard, look like the old-school junkyard defense, and can't shoot a reliable three to save their lives. This feels like the team that started the rise in 2009. So let me ask you guys, what do you feel the ceiling is for this team? And based on that ceiling, what do you feel FSU will do about Coach Ham at the end of the year?
We'll talk the first part first. I think the ceiling is I think they could be a tournament team. I just don't know how good the ACC is going to be. They have to avoid horrible losses and get a couple of nice wins. I mean, they went 10-10 last year in the conference. And I think they should be better than that. They just can't shoot. And that's a pretty important part of the process. I think they got guys that can shoot. Justin Thomas, I think the freshman Davis has a nice looking jump shot. It just doesn't go in a lot, which is problematic. Dang can shoot, but I mean Chandler Jackson's a starting point guard that just can't shoot threes. The Ewan kid's probably never going to shoot a three. Bowen's nothing special behind the arc, so they lack the shooting, but they do play exceptionally hard. I really do think they played really hard. I think it's a bunch of hungry kids that have never proven anything in Jameer Watkins. So in that regard, it is kind of like Jameer Watkins isn't Tony Douglas, but it was like Tony and a bunch of tryhards. And this could be Jameer and a bunch of tryhards. But Jameer isn't as good as Tony. I don't know that he can just straight up take over games on both ends of the court like Tony can, although he's very, very good. And then I don't know that they're quite as good defensively as that team was. But we'll see, right? So I don't know what the ceiling is. I do like the way they play. The one kid is the center, Malik Ewan. Such a unique offensive game, Aslan. I don't know how much you've watched of them. Like, he'll be the point guard sometimes. I think he's the best passer on the team. He's not shooting the ball all that well at the moment, and he does not rebound defensively at all. So those are problematic things. He's kind of a negative on defense, I think. But he could be super, super plus on offense because he's unique. He moves kind of like a guard. He passes incredibly well. He can run the break at times. He's just got some athleticism to him that's unique at that size. It'll be interesting to see what he looks like 15 games in. Because he could be a really, really hard player to guard for other teams to guard. And he could be one of those like Draymond Green types. I know he's a lot taller, but just catches the ball in the high post and the offense goes through him in the high post. Like, he's just got some stuff to him. He's kind of – I don't know that Leonard's ever had a 7-footer with his kind of game. But I'm going to need him to start getting more defensive rebounds. But and the second question was Leonard at the end of the year. So he doesn't have – this is the last year of his contract. I would think, I don't know, man. I would still think, I still lean towards this being the last year because I don't know how if they have another bad season, and I just said I don't think they will, but if they don't make the tournament again, and now you're, on year 4 of not making the tournament, I know they have other expenses in mind, and if he's willing to run it back for 1 year, is he going to be willing to sign a 1-year deal? Because you can't
Well, it's the alternative for him, though, right?
Just retirement, I guess.
Yeah, but
which it could be on the table. I don't know.
You don't get paid as much money to retire as you do just a 1-year deal to coach what you've loved.
Well, right, but is that good for the program to sign a 77-year-old coach?
No, but you mentioned you got other. I only mentioned that because you mentioned they got other expenses, so maybe that's like the most prudent thing for the university. Like, all right, let's float him another year because we still don't know what conference we're going to be in, and we still have to hold our breath that the football team's fixed. I don't know. I'm just spitballing.
Yeah, maybe, but it's not that bad. When you're thinking about $100 million in expenses for the football program, I don't know, man. $2 million, $3 million for a basketball isn't that big a deal. So no, it's not going to break them, is what I'm saying, to go and get a new basketball coach. So honestly, ask me after the season, man, or in the middle of the season. Right now, I wouldn't be upset, and I don't think Alford would be upset if they agreed to have one more year and it becomes like his retirement year. But if they finish 10-20, nah, man, let's move on. So let's see where it goes. I don't think that's going to happen, though, because I do like some of the foundational parts of this team, defensively especially. They get a ton of steals and a ton of deflections, and they play hard. It's just I got to see some shots go down from beyond the arc.
Speaking of Mike Alford, we go to our guy Austin, Nole Dad for Life. Morning, gents. If you were Mike Alford or Mike Norvell, would you spend more money on new coaches or new players this offseason? Well, I mean, it's almost a wash, but let's look at this maybe two literally. What, Ohio State has been rumored to have like a $20 million budget salary for their football team this year. That's a $20 million team right now. I know you're going to offer multi-year deals to these assistant coaches, so theoretically those are going to be more than 20. When you add all that stuff together, you're talking about like maybe a 4-year, $2.5 million year per deal. But just on an annual basis, yeah, man, give me players. I am very much of the Irish O'Fell school of management. I think this. You're right, Corey. This is not a 1-9 roster. I get it. But I don't think it's any better than like a 5-5 roster. So the only way that changes is if you get a whole bunch of new players. The only way that happens is if you spend a whole bunch of money on it.
Yeah, in this day and age, I guess it's just it was just last year though. I don't know that they were spending that much more money than like LSU, and they beat LSU by 28 points. So that to go to your point. That's more of the players. It's just obviously it's a combination of both. And it's easy for me to talk out of both sides of my mouth because of the two extremes of the last two seasons. Yes, players are important. The reason they went 13-0 in hindsight is because they had a lot better players last year than they did this year. We thought the coaching this year would be good enough to overcome a slip in talent level. Clearly that wasn't the case. So coaching is important. But if they had obviously this coaching staff with that team last year went 13-0. And then this coaching staff with this team can't beat anybody. So the differentiator there, I think that's a word, is the talent on the team. So go get better talent. I understand that. I also don't want a coaching staff that's ever possible of this. That this is even a possibility ever again. This is again inexcusable. These are two extremes. You need to meet in the middle. You need obviously much better talent. You also need better coaching talent. Both can be true. If you're going to spend more on one, yes, probably players. But again, the House resolution, if it evens the playing field where everybody gets the same amount of money theoretically to spend however they want, well then I think that makes coaching even more important, right? Maybe. Yeah. If you can't just go out spin teams, theoretically, at least not over the table, because everybody's spending the same amount of money, well, then you need some real good coaches. And clearly, a lot of this staff isn't great, because a good college football coaching staff with even average talent doesn't go 1-9, man. They got better talent at Syracuse? Really? Yeah. Pittsburgh's loaded with more talent than you? Number one, if they are, that's a real issue, because go identify and evaluate talent and lure them to Florida State. And number two, I don't think that's true. I think your team was just developed and coached horribly So I don't know, man. I don't know. Because I hear myself saying that, and I'm like, yeah, but if you're going to go spend $2 million a year on a coordinator, or you could spend $2 million a year on a great quarterback. So anyway, I don't know. So people higher in the on the food chain than me, I guess, have to make those decisions.
One of the questions our guy Knoxville asked us was, would the records be swapped if Cam Ward was in Tallahassee? Like, I don't think so.
No, it would be better, obviously. I think they'd probably even have a winning record, barely. But no. I mean, they're still losing to Notre Dame. They're still losing to Clemson, I think. They're still losing to SMU, I think. It's just he would have given them more confidence than they deserve to have. But I do think confidence matters. And my point being, all of a sudden, all these guys start playing a little better and a little harder because they believe in the quarterback. They believe in the offense, and they believe in the offense because they believe in the quarterback. So the impact of a really good quarterback really does. It's almost unquantifiable how much it can impact an entire team to have a quarterback you believe in. That you always think he's gonna go score on the next drive. He's gonna get you back in the game, or he's gonna go win the game. It's so reassuring to have somebody like that on your sideline. But I don't know that it could have done enough to make this a 9-1. I just don't think there's a way that they're 9-1.
I don't want to go too much further down this because we've got so many more questions, but I do wonder, like, who was the guy in the locker room in Dublin after that game to try to, like, stop the bleeding or get guys to like cheer up and look up, like on any side of the ball? Like, who was that guy that was going to be that voice? Because after Clemson got thumped against Georgia in that opener, everybody kind of made fun of Cade Klubnik because he had like a Tebow light speech after the game, just like, I'm gonna work so hard and do my best to help this team. And like, Clemson came out and played pretty good football for like the next 8 weeks or so. And I think Florida State was totally devoid of any kind of leader like that. And you have a whole bunch of, they're not misfit toys, these guys, but just a bunch of unproven pieces. You don't have any production. You had no proven production. It was a bunch of maybe, or, we recruited this guy 2 years ago. We liked him then. And it's like, well, yeah, man, he was at a good program for 2 years and couldn't get on the field and do anything. Now, you could say, well, he was at a good program. Well, you had a good program. You won however many games out of the last many you played. So it's a mystery, which I guess we'll pivot to this one here. I don't think we'll ever get this one, but it's from our guy Armchair Osceola, who, by the way, says, as we approach Thanksgiving, he's thankful to have learned there's far more to life in the fall than orchestrating my Saturdays around watching a sporting event. Speaking of crafting things around activities for the holidays, Azon, what about bringing your lady friend to New York City during this festive holiday season? Rockefeller Plaza, ice skating, hot chocolate, avoiding spilled trash. What could be more romantic? Too cold. I don't want to be up in the cold. The question,
there goes that.
Yeah, sorry. We're never leaving the not the parallel. What's if the 48th parallel? Yeah, 48th parallel. I don't know.
The 38th parallel?
Sure, yeah. I don't know which one we're near.
I don't either.
Yeah, but shout out Corey, historic buff.
Well, that's we're in that Korea.
It is.
Yeah. All right, yeah. Guys, you learn so much more.
It's incredible.
Than just weird takes on sports.
Anyhow, when do you think we'll get the tell-all article that details the reasons for Florida State's precipitous decline? I would assume it'll happen as disgruntled coaches and players spread out across the country and are willing to speak to journalists. At this point, it's the only interesting thing left about this season. I've been thinking about this a lot lately, Corey. I know maybe the fact that there isn't one, we all want the simple thing, right? We want one thing to point to, as though, when Jimbo fell apart, it was, all right, it's his personal life and, a marriage and things like that. And, this is just like a cocktail of terrible. You lost a bunch of good guys. You clearly did not replace them well. We don't know how much of being snubbed affected your outlook and your evaluation, and how, maybe you had some hubris in bringing in a guy like DJ, and maybe that hubris also was, we can get anybody and plug them in. We've done this with 24 players the last 2 years. We'll figure it out. There's just so much, and I wish we could point to like the one big smoking gun silver bullet thing, but I do not think there is one. But, yeah, man, if Adam Fuller or Alex Atkins or any of these guys that leave the program end up on a podcast, I probably would be interested and curious into hearing what they say.
Yeah, but you're right. I don't think there's like one smoking bullet or smoking gun. I guess do bullets smoke?
I think it's the gun afterwards.
Yeah, it's a smoking gun, but silver bullet is probably what I was looking for. There's not one. There's not one reason. You missed on quarterback, but so whatever they said, I don't think it's going to be that illuminating. Look, some players they had last year masked recruiting misses. Clearly, your 2 wide receivers, your defensive line, Renardo Green, your corner. I guess your corners have been fine. Your skill guys, Trey Benson, your quarterback, obviously, they masked some things that were missing on this roster. And they gave you a false sense of what you really were, that type of talent. I think that's a reason. I think that would be talked about in a podcast like you're saying or an article. Also, what the 63-3 loss did, what the snub did, what maybe – obviously you didn't bring in the best transfer portal guys. Whose mistakes were those to think this guy might help and this guy might help and this guy might help? The mistakes that were made in putting together the roster. I mean, it's a concoction of suck, man. So there's plenty of reasons to go around. There's not just one reason. So I don't know what else. I don't know what could be illuminated other than somebody could be like, look, the way Norvell practiced was always ridiculous, but it got smoke and mirrored over because of the talent he had on the team for that 2-year stretch. But once that talent went away and he was left with the guys he brought in, his own guys, you saw what happened. So I don't know. There could be something like that, but I don't know that anything like that would really come out until Norvell leaves.
Right.
And even then, you always have to wonder, what side of the story are you getting? Is it somebody that's disgruntled, that doesn't want to take accountability, that wants to blame other people for what happened? And I'm speaking specifically, and I would never think Adam Fuller would do this, but if Adam Fuller just went on a podcast and just ripped Norvell, he's probably disgruntled, right? He thinks he's being the fall guy for Mike Norvell's issues. This is clearly completely hypothetical. Yeah. But how much weight do you give that? There's going to be some truth into what he's saying.
Yeah.
Sure. But there's also some self-reflection when these type of things come out. And I'm talking about coaches that go and snipe at other coaches when they leave, or really more honestly when players leave programs or franchises and snipe at their former employers. You have to take it all with a grain of salt. Whose side are you getting? Because there's 2 different sides and there's the truth.
Yeah, I feel like if Fuller went on a podcast and was, listen, like
why don't we get him on this podcast?
Yeah, we can try. But if he was like, I wanted player X, Y, and Z, but I couldn't get them because Mike was allocating more money to the offense. Like that to me would be like, okay, you're bitter, you're disgruntled. But I think there's like cultural things that he could talk about. He could be like, listen, when we showed up for winter workouts, like the team just did not have the same kind of motivation and drive. They still seem to have a hangover from what happened in the bowl game. Like that kind of stuff I think you could pull out. There's certain things I think we could hear with a nuanced ear about like, okay, that's sour grapes, and then like, okay, that's some real insight and truth probably that sounds reasonable and practical. So
yeah,
we'll see if it all happens. We're back. It's Wake Up Warchant. It's presented by Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com, promo code Warchant, BOGO. Corey, let's go offense. Hyperspeed right here. Noles North, wake up. Corey has stated multiple times this offense has to be changed. Norvell has to give it up. I'm struggling with that argument based on what I've watched for the last 3 years. Norvell's been lauded as a good play caller every game, even with his train wreck of an offensive line and receivers going out to catch with boxing gloves on. There's plays schemed open on any drive that just simply does not have a jailbreak by the opposing defense. Do you think that a new scheme really moves the needle absent getting the players? Would scheme have made any difference this year beyond the rabbit holing that happens when the offensive line can't block the wind?
Yeah, that's a hard question to answer, and I understand the question. I understand the comment, and I understand why people would disagree because Norvell did put together a good offense in 22 and 23. What bothers me is he's the overseer of the offense. This is his baby. This is all he really should be caring about in practice, quite honestly, is the offense because he's the coordinator. And yet he put together an offense with that offensive line where he had no answers and no adjustments. And what gives me pause is he's the person that put this together. So maybe he doesn't see the whole picture as clearly as he should. Because how could anybody – and it's just the reality, man. When you average less than 14 points per game, you're getting fired. You lose the privilege of getting to run your own offense in college football anymore, in my opinion, when you put together something this awful. It's legitimately like a basketball team averaging 38 points per game. Like, it's unheard of what he's doing at this level. So with that being said, I know he's proven he can be a good play caller. I know he's proven he can be a very good offensive coordinator. It's how he made his bones. It's how he got to Florida State. It needs a hard reset, man. It just does. When you failed this miserably, you don't just dust yourself off and say, all right, well, here's my still got the same play sheet. Let's see if it works with these guys. I don't trust him, quite frankly. I don't trust him to put together a roster on the fly and to know what to look for with certain positions to have a competent offense next year. That's how much this year has soiled me on his ability to be an offensive mastermind. And you can say, well, you don't need an offensive mastermind. You just need an offensive coordinator. You just need a competent one, a good one. You need better players. All that's true. There probably are better. There might be an offensive mastermind out there that's willing to come to Florida State. So go get them. And it's not like the program can't be salvaged if Mike Norvell continues to call plays. I just think the whole thing needs it. I think it needs a brand new reset on that side of the ball with brand new eyes. I don't care who calls the plays, quite frankly. I just don't. I don't think it matters who calls play number 6 compared to who calls play number 11. I want a whole new offense that is not capable of this degree of suckery. And that's why I would like to go outside and get somebody else. Because once you have a season like this, it just taints everything. It's a different lens I'm looking through him with. And that doesn't mean I don't think he can still be a really good head coach. I think he likes – this isn't him, man. Like, I think when we look back, Aslan, this might be a column I write whenever they do hire this new OC. Jordan Travis was so much more valuable than we thought because Jordan Travis knew that offense just about as well as Mike Norvell did. Mm-hmm. He was his own co-offensive coordinator. I can promise you that. When they game plan during the week, it's not like Jordan Travis was just here, okay, we're going to do this, Jordan. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And that's it. Mm-hmm. There was a dialogue with Travis, Tokars, and Norvell where they were coming up with what would work, what wouldn't work. Jordan was probably giving them opinions on what players needed to play, what players couldn't play, or what players couldn't play that particular play. And he doesn't need to be on the field for that because he can't get open. I can't trust him to be open. There was a real dialogue when you have a fifth-year senior that's played as loud as and is as good as Jordan Travis has played that much football. Well, so he had his own coordinator at quarterback, a pseudo coordinator. I know Jordan wasn't calling all the plays, but he was, or any of the plays, but he was helping quite a lot.
Whatever percent Alex Atkins said got them into the right play.
Right. So that's all on the quarterback, man. The quarterback helped more than not just the talent on the field. He was so vitally important when they lost Dillingham to still keep the thing going and actually take a step because of who he was as a quarterback and who he was as a leader and who he was as a game planner, which I can promise you he had some input in it. He had to have. There would be coaching malpractice if he didn't. So, maybe Norvell started calling plays, quote unquote, but he was game planning and scheming with Atkins, Tokars, and Jordan Travis. Well, Jordan Travis went away, and what the F happened? So, I don't know, man. I think there's probably a little bit of a correlation there. Yeah, I get it. If you have a good quarterback, you have a good offense. Fine. Well, he can't get good quarterbacks either. So go find me someone that can identify, develop, and install quarterbacks into a system where they shine that is not named Jordan Travis. Because I just don't see it with this guy yet. It's been 5 years now, and we still don't know if Brock Glenn and Luke Kromenhoek can play in this offense. I have no idea, and I know it's a long-winded answer, and it feels like I'm being defensive.
It's not go. That wasn't a very go-go answer.
I know. I'll wrap it up quicker on the next one. I just wanted to explain that because it's a fair point. But that's the reason that I want just a whole new offense. A whole new offense because I think Norvell could be a very good CEO coach because he would not be the guy in the tower. He would not be the guy that's golfing every day at 3:00. He would be involved, and he would have his handprints on both sides of the ball, and he'd have his handprints on the entire program. It's not like he wouldn't still be very, very busy and active, even if he wasn't calling the plays on Saturday. Let somebody come in and install an offense that'll average more than 14 a game.
Carolina Nole 1, I know you guys, especially Corey, really like Mike Norvell, but would you rather have a guy that isn't 100 coach speak in his media appearances? Good work day, get better, 1%, respond. It's all about response. I imagine players are numb to it by now. I know Lane Kiffin would annoy y'all during press conferences, but at least he would feel authentic. Wouldn't an authentic a-hole be more fun to cover? Yeah, I love Lane. You've asked the right guy. You've come to the right place, Carolina Nole 1. And I know I'm not trying to bash Mike. And listen, he has rebuilt this. He rebuilt this program temporarily, unfortunately.
He took a crane to it.
Yeah.
In the offseason, but yeah, he did rebuild it.
I thought I saw some of that in his press conference on Monday. I felt like there was less
wrecking ball. Was what I meant to say. He took a wrecking
ball.
ball to it.
Yeah.
The wrecking ball I was thinking was swinging from the crane.
There we go. I mean, how a wrecking ball is nothing without a crane, Corey, right?
Exactly right. That's that. Confucius said that, I think.
Yeah, I don't think, Lane trolls people on the internet, but I think the local media in Oxford likes him. I mean, obviously because he's winning and they get to cover a bunch of cool big-time games, but I don't think there's, friction between him and his constituents, if you will, in the media, which that's not a right word to use. But, yeah, Jimbo had a combative nature with the media. I don't think Lane has that. And, part of me is that'd be kind of crazy if, Mike doesn't work out in a year or two and they end up bringing Dion here. But I'm like, can you imagine the looks Dion would shoot me, the questions that I've asked Mike? But I don't care. This isn't about me, everybody. This is about you, your favorite team, being coached as best and successful as possibly they can be. But yeah, I don't like the way he answers questions. But hey, that's fine. He doesn't like the way the questions I ask him, and that's fine as well too. But
right.
Selfishly speaking, covering this, having things to talk about, it'd probably be a little bit more exciting, for lack of a better term, to have a guy like Lane that seems to speak his mind. Could you imagine Mike waxing poetic for 5 minutes about the ACC championship game and how it's going to be worthless because it could injure? I don't think he would ever speak about big looming picture things like that. He's just so focused on process in the day-to-day.
Yeah, he'll answer some generic big picture questions, but not a lot, and he's very guarded. Anytime somebody makes a mistake, he doesn't really call him out on it. He's like, well, that was a challenging play, or that was a challenging moment there when a kid dropped a pass, didn't execute to the finish there, that kind of stuff. But I don't like Mike Norvell because of his press conferences. I like what the guy's made up of. I do think he's as about as genuine as person as you could be in this profession, which is like saying the most honest man in prison. But I do think are the tallest, tallest little person.
There you go.
But he
skinniest person at fat camp, or is that?
Well,
is
there
that
you
bad
go.
one?
I don't know. I don't think we could say. I don't know what's allowed anymore, folks.
Yeah.
But we definitely don't want to get canceled.
Correct.
But I like what he's made up of as a human being, and I do think he has proven to be a very good coach. He's a good communicator with the players. I think a lot of them do believe in him. He clearly lost some of them this year. But when I say I like Mike Norvell, it's not that I like hearing about the challenges and the response and all that over and over again. And the reason I like covering Mike Norvell, and Aslan didn't get to this because it's my duty to bring this up. If we covered Lane Kiffin, that would be awesome. You would have no practice notes. None. We'd have no idea who was good and who wasn't until we saw each other on Saturday, and even then you wouldn't know because not all of them play. I just want to keep reiterating that. Dion, Jimbo, Lane Kiffin. I don't think Jimbo had a bad relationship with the media here until the end. But it wasn't fun to cover in the sense that, okay, we talked to him at the end of the practice. No assistants could talk, period. No freshmen could talk, period. And we'd get the same 4 people each week. Now, if you win games, nobody cares. I get it. But when you're talking about covering a team from this perspective, from our perspective, this is worlds better. 1-9 sucks, though. But everything else is worlds better. It's more open. It's transparent, other than injuries. But, some people have their things that they stick by, and that's his. But I just like Mike as a human being. It's not that I like his press conferences can be pretty boring.
Yeah. Well said. I think as a human being, as a neighbor, if I had children or something, I'd feel like they're in good hands under Mike Norvell's tutelage and leadership. As a guy who has to, talk about this football team.
And he's not going to play games with them, right? Like, he's not going to play shoots and ladders with them and giggle and have a slumber party.
Right.
But he'll make sure they're safe.
Yeah.
You can trust them to make sure they're safe. That's
our pitch to you, mom and dad, that's trying to think about where to send your 17-year-old 5-star 6'4", jumps out of the gym wide receiver. Bring him here. Bring him here.
They'll be safe.
They'll be safe. Gio Noel, wake up, boys. The season's been rough to say the least. Do you think we can really overcome the snub and the lack of high school recruiting? As often mentioned, Coach Norvell won 19 straight. He could still not put together a top 5 recruiting class. In my humble opinion, he would need to get 3 to 4 elite recruiters on the staff to even have a chance. Thank you for all you do. Happy holidays. Let's pair that together with our guy, Craig Turner. Welcome, Craig. I think it's his first time on the Ponies. With the end of the season coming to a close and the portal about to open, how many players do you think will transfer out? With signing day around the corner, how will that translate to how many high school players they'll try to bring in versus via the transfer portal?
To answer Gio Noel's question first, yeah, man, it's going to be hard. Nobody thinks it's a guarantee that this gets turned around. In 2 years from now, he's winning like National Coach of the Year awards again. But he did do it once, and he's the reigning National Coach of the Year. I don't think he's going to repeat, but he is the reigning National Coach of the Year, whatever the Bear Bryant Award winner. I don't think he's going to win it back-to-back years. So I don't know if there's somebody that's done that in the history of the award, but if they have, they're probably lighting a cigar knowing that their record won't be matched by Mike Norvell. But yeah, no, his high school recruiting has left a lot to be desired. He has not built he has not built up a depth chart in a roster.
Sorry, Corey, real quick. Dabo back-to-back 16 and 15.
Oh, so Dabo's lighting a cigar.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, Norvell's not catching me. Who's next? Who's winning it this year? So Signetti will have a chance to win it in 2025. As soon as they lose 3 games, Dabo lights another cigar, pours champagne, whatever he has to do. Yes, it's hard to believe that he's going to get you a 19-game winning streak again after what we've seen. But there's nothing that says it's impossible. It probably isn't probable. I get it. But we don't think that Mike Norvell, if he hires a better staff, some guys that can actually bring in some high-level 4, 5-star talent. You're not going to bring a ton of them in. Nobody does except Ohio State and Georgia and a few others. But if you bring in a top 12 recruiting class, you can't get to the playoff. We don't think Mike Norvell can get this program back to the playoff. I'm asking you. I know that not Gio. No, I'm legitimately asking you. Not will he, can he?
Get top 12 recruiting classes? Yeah.
Get back to the playoff.
Well, get back to the playoff.
Get to the playoff.
Get back to the playoff, right? Get to the playoff. You have to win this conference. This is a winnable conference.
Is that asking a ton? My point being,
no, but again, I don't know. Like sitting here, they got to get so many things fixed.
But
I know we're not talking about next year.
SMU and Miami are about to play for the ACC championship. SMU and Miami. So again, that's my point. It seems dire. It is dire. This is disgusting. I will still say this: even when they lose to Florida by 40 points, Florida State is closer to winning their conference than Florida is.
That's true. Yeah.
They just are, and if we could look at it from a different perspective and realize the way things flip in this game so quickly. To answer the other question, I'm thinking you're going to need at least 50 new players. However that shakes out, guys are going to leave for better opportunities. Guys are going to leave because they're not good enough to play here. Some guys are going to go to the NFL. You're going to probably need 50 new players. The way this thing flips so quickly, Colorado has a chance to make the playoff, and I'm not just. Last year, they were a bad football team. This year, they're about to make the playoff. Now, they have probably the first 2 picks in the draft on their team, but both of whom could probably have been here But that's neither here nor there. When you look at these playoff rankings, Aslan, they're not just absolute. It's not all Alabama and Georgia in there. There's teams that I think Arizona State has a possibility of winning that conference. BYU, obviously, Boise State, SMU, like we talked about, Miami, who hasn't been relevant in 20 years and was 7-6 or 6-7 last year. Like, it can flip really quickly, and you can get back to the playoff. You can. These hires are extremely important. Go load this roster up with some stuff, but it's not out of the realm to think that I can't conceive that Mike Norvell all of a sudden can't put together a program that can finish in the top 15. And if you can finish somewhere in the top 15 of this country, you are challenging for a playoff spot.
All right, last one. FSU 73-72. Gentlemen, we are now in a very italicized, very precarious spot with the most important position on the field. There's nothing to suggest that going into 25 with either quarterback would generate confidence.
Yeah.
So a portal target is mandatory. Does the new offensive coordinator bring one with him? Is Norvell working on that independently? We could hire the ghost of Bill Walsh and wouldn't win 6 games with what's on this roster.
Well, that's true. You can't even win 3 games with what's on this roster. I will say this roster is not going to be the roster next year. There should be some hope in that. Yes, the quarterback is the most important position, and I absolutely agree. There's nothing that's been done these last 5-6 weeks that gives you any confidence at all that one of these two guys is the answer. Doesn't mean they're awful either, but just nothing has been proven, right? So yes, if you say you bring in, just for the sake of argument, you bring in the guy from UNLV. His quarterback right now is a senior, so he's not coming with him. Maybe he's got somebody locked and loaded to come with him. Maybe he goes and gets the guy from USC that's starting there now. That would seem odd that he would leave USC, but maybe he goes because he was at UNLV last year, and I can't pronounce his name, Aslan. I'm not going to even try.
Jordan Maiva?
Yeah, right. It's close enough.
Sorry, Jaden Maiva.
So say he convinces him to come to Tallahassee. Absolutely. Take it in a heartbeat. Because I number one, we can run the offense, but also, you've got to be better at quarterback. You've got to get better quarterback play. It doesn't mean you necessarily need better quarterbacks. I hate to quantify or couch it like that or qualify it, but I think it's foolish to just give up on these two guys because they look bad in this horrific horror show of an offense. Almost everybody would. Literally almost everybody would. Unless and they're young. So maybe senior Luke Kromenhoek would have been able to overcome some of this stuff and still have a competent offense. But true freshman Luke Kromenhoek, good luck, man. No chance. But, yes, I think the quarterback position is paramount. That's nothing new. I do think that I can't imagine he's standing pat. Can we just say that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's the hard
can't stand
right
pat.
There.
You can't stand pat.
No. There's no position. I mean, there's almost no position on the team other than tight end to where I guess even running back, if you feel like there's somebody really talented out there, because, you're losing Toafili and you're losing Keziah Holmes. We don't know what's going to go on with Roydell. So even running back's on the table. There's no position where you could stand pat.
No.
And quarterback is not immune from that. Unless, who knows, maybe Luke starts, goes 20 of 26 for 280 and 3 scores against Charleston Southern, and we're cooking with fish grease.
Well, then what does he do against Florida?
I don't care.
That's crazy. If he goes 5 of 22 against Florida,
he's gonna carve teams up like that next year when he's got playmakers all around him, buddy.
True, that's true. And he's running the go-go.
Exactly.
Go score. Go score.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be something if they actually scored touchdowns next year?
Are they going to score 6 touchdowns tomorrow, Corey?
No, I don't.
Even 5. I can't. I don't know. Just, I guess if there's a bust, you could bust. Malik Benson can get open if you see that and you've got enough time. That's a shot play, but
they're averaging 1.3 touchdowns per game.
Yeah. But this is a bad Charleston Southern football team, yo. The Buccos are bad.
But not an embarrassing defense. I'll just keep putting that out there. They're not an embarrassing defense. They lose most of their games because of their offense, which is horrible, not their defense. So, it wouldn't be something to see them score 7 or 8 touchdowns. But, it's going to be a whole new roster next year, folks. It's going to be a whole new roster, probably mostly brand new coaching staff. It's a hard reset. And you do have a guy that's the reigning Bear Bryant Award winner that did win 19 games in a row. So at least you know he's capable of it. At least you know it's in there somewhere. He's capable of it. So, man, it's like Tiger and the Masters. You knew it was in there somewhere.
That's right.
And he had that magical week in Augusta. What was that, 5 years ago now?
2019, yeah.
So, And Mike Norvell is the Tiger Woods of college football coaching.
Many have said so.
Most people say that, I think.
Also, Florida State out of it for Bryce Underwood, number 1 quarterback.
That's too bad.
And speaking of quarterbacks, apparently says no to LSU, is going to Michigan, and several commas coming his way.
What do you think they spent for him? Like, if that ever became public, it changes the complexion of everything.
Well,
because he's the number 1 quarterback in the country, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Do you give him a 4-year deal or just a 1-year deal?
I think you have to give him like a 3-year deal, right?
3 years, what? 8? 10? Like, it's a huge position of need everywhere. And if you think this guy is the next Jane Daniels or Jameis Winston, I don't know if there's a number that would be too high to pay.
Well, would you take 1 year, $4 million, or would you take 3 years at like 9, but we can cut you?
Oh, as long as the money's guaranteed, I would take the 9.
Yeah. Well, clearly, but if they can cut you though for 3, but like all right, I'll go to LSU. I know I'm going to make at least $4 million. I'm guaranteed of that. But if I flame out at 1 year in Michigan, they'll cut me, and then no one's going to really want me. I'm going to end up being like the kid that Malachi Nelson or whatever his name is, that was the number 1 dude in the country, went to USC, couldn't get on the field, goes to Boise, and can't get on the field there either. So.
Right. Yeah, no, I would definitely I would take the guaranteed, whatever the most guaranteed money is. And then I do think that is something that will happen. It's got to happen at some point with these NIL contracts. Maybe everything changes with the House settlement deal that's coming. We keep hearing about it. I assume it'll be implemented. I know schools are already planning for it to be around next August. So we'll see how that changes the landscape. But if it doesn't change, these NILs, they've got to change the wording of their contracts to lock in kids. I mean, sorry, man, this is the real world. You want money, a substantial amount of money, that's great. I guess you've earned it. Some would say anyway. If people are willing to pay you, you've earned it. But you don't just get to leave on a whim. You can't go to other schools.
Go ahead.
Maybe do it with the coaches too. Wouldn't that be something?
Let me give you 30 seconds. If he doesn't win a national title, is it a complete waste of money?
No. No. If he doesn't get to the playoff, yes. But if you're in the playoff, man, it's a crapshoot, dude. You know what I mean? Like, it's like saying, is Mark Few not worth the money at Gonzaga because he's never won a national championship?
Yeah.
I mean, good. Think of all the money he's made for that school, and he's never won a national title. But if you're just in the conversation and you're relevant and you're good again, the amount of money that makes for your school, in your city, in your program, all that stuff, that's invaluable. So no, just you can't go 6-6 every year. Then you're absolutely not worth the money.
Also, Travis Hunter announced that definitely for sure he's entering the draft. So that too. So
that's a stunner.
Lots going on.
And Shedeur was asked if he was the best quarterback, if he thought he was the best quarterback in this draft, and he goes, "Yeah, and I thought I was the best one in last year's draft too."
Nice.
It's a good answer.
Confidence. Those Sanders boys don't lack it.
They don't lack it, do they?
No. Lack it. All right, we're done. That was a long one. We love you. Thanks for being here the whole time. I can't believe I'm going to ask you to do something for me, but just hit the thumbs up on the way out maybe. Check out vitaminenergy.com as well. Warchant BOGO. Use it. Buy one, get one free. He's Corey. I'm Aslan. Jeff Cameron Show coming up 1 to 4 o'clock. Thanks for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by Vitamin Energy.